So this year we have a presidential election, and to make things even more difficult when it comes to voting, there's also a pandemic. So I'm pleased to have join us Lisa Brown, who's the Oakland County Clerk. Thanks for appearing today.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit to the viewers about what your responsibilities are as the county clerk when it comes to handling elections.
Well, Michigan is different from 46 other states in that we are decentralized. So in 46 of the states, everything is done at the county level in regards to elections. But in Michigan, like I said, we're decentralized. So there's certain responsibilities that lie on the city and township clerks and some at the county level. So at the county level, first, I guess, candidates file with us depending upon what office. Some would file with their local clerk, some file with the state, but campaign finance reports also come to us, again, depending upon what office you're running for. And then in regards to elections, we do the programming. So there's a lot that goes into elections that most people don't realize, but when you go to your precinct and you put your ballot in the tabulator, if you had, for instance, a ballot from another precinct and you try to put it in there, it wouldn't work. We do the programming for every tabulator, all the equipment. We have over 500 precincts in Oakland County alone, so it's a lot of work that goes into that. The proofing and the printing of the ballots, and I will say that 2 years ago, I asked the Board of Commissioners to allow me to keep more of the money in my budget to allow me to order more ballots. I didn't have money to order 100% for every election, and we are required by law for like the November election this year to order 100% to print that much, and we're actually doing more than that. I'm ordering over 110% for each precinct because I know people are concerned about the mail, and we've got a lot of people voting by mail right now. So printing over 110% for each precinct, and what that means is for every registered voter, even if you only vote when I don't know, it's an odd number, the Tuesday's an odd number or something like that, or you didn't vote in the August primary, it doesn't matter. If you're a registered voter, there is a ballot that has been printed for you, and then extra on top of that. So, and then of course, after the election or on election day, all the results come to us. And then we share those with the state. We report that to the state. We canvass the elections after. So that's a long process, and that is the process required before any of the races can be certified. So, and then we do audits too. There's a lot.
So what are some of the key points that you want every voter to know as we go into this election cycle here?
Well, we have more people voting at home now, absentee, due to two things. One, the passage of Proposal 18.3, which allowed no reason absentee voting, because before that you could only have one of a few reasons to be able to vote absentee. So now anyone can vote absentee. And then of course the pandemic. Many people feel safer voting from home. So whether you vote at home or in your precinct, you need to complete your ballot with a blue or black ink pen. You want to fill in that box. We don't want check marks or X's. We want that box filled in to make sure your vote is counted. If you are voting absentee, you're going to return it in an envelope. I hope you can see this. It looks like this. Make sure you sign. You got to sign and date the back. If you don't sign it, your ballot's not going to be tabulated. So we want to make sure your vote counts. So do that. And of course, it has to be returned to your local clerk by 8 p.m. on election day. We are not a postmark state. You might read things about other states that they're still getting ballots and they count them days after the election day if they're received with a postmark from before the election day. Michigan isn't like that. That's not our law. Our law is that it has to be received by the local clerk. So I am also encouraging people to use drop boxes to return their ballots. There's a lot of talk about the Postal Service, U.S. Postal Service, and concerns in that regard. And so I know, for instance, Troy has drop boxes at the City Hall, and I'm encouraging people to use those to return their absentee ballots.
And do you have any sort of recommendation about should people try to vote as soon as they get their ballot, or does it really matter? What's the position on that?
I would say vote it sooner rather than later. It, you know, as clerks, we want to make voting easier for citizens, but I know citizens also want to get the results in a timely fashion. And there's a lot of process that happens when you return your ballot. It's not just, oh, it's ripped open and it's put in the tabulator. You know, as I said, you got to sign the back of that envelope. That signature is matched in the qualified voter file to make sure that's a match to, as a fail stop against voter fraud. So the sooner you return it, then you'll have the peace of mind to know that your ballot has been returned. If you are missing the signature, it gives your local clerk an opportunity to contact you so that you can correct that, so that your ballot will be counted. And if there's some sort of October surprise, that you now have changed your mind on a race or something, or a ballot proposal, you can always contact your local clerk and have that ballot spoiled and be issued a new one. So to me, it's a peace of mind. The sooner you return it, that you know that it's there and that your vote will count and your voice will be heard.
All right. With the likely surge in absentee voting that's going to be going on, there's been some who've expressed concerns about there being fraud in the election. What are your thoughts on that, and what are you doing to make sure that that isn't an issue?
Well, people who talk about a lot of fraud don't have any examples to point really of it. It's very rare that there is election fraud. And again, in Michigan, we have so many checks and balances. First of all, we have public accuracy tests, and that's checking the equipment before anything happens. We have a zero. I hate to get too into the weeds, but a zero report is printed off of each tabulator before the polls open, which shows that there are no votes already in the machine, if you will. As I said, the signature matching, looking at the signature checking to make sure those signatures match on the back of the envelopes for the absentee ballots. Again, the canvas is another place. I mean, I've been asked, have you ever seen election fraud or voter fraud? And I can tell you, I did find an instance of it in the canvas, that somebody had voted twice. They actually signed their spouse's name on the back of the envelope and whatever. I reported it to the proper authorities, and but I have canvassed. I have lost how many elections I've done since I've been in office, which is over 7.5 years. We have elections every year, 2 to 3, and sometimes we had 4. And it's very, very rare, but it is caught. And then, like, another example would be Congressman McCotter, former Congressman McCotter, with his petitions, and there was fraud on that with the signatures, and that was caught. So, we have a lot of checks and balances, and I think that our decentralization of our elections helps with that as well. But election fraud, voter fraud is so very rare. But when it does happen, we catch it.
Very good. Good to hear that. So Donald Trump has said on a number of occasions he's encouraged people to vote both by mail and in person, to cast essentially 2 ballots. As the county clerk responsible for elections, what do you have to tell people about that?
Don't do that. That's a felony. That is a felony. And I know that our AG has said she will prosecute anybody who does that. So do not do that. That is not the right way to go. And so people know, let's say you vote absentee and then you show up to your precinct. The poll workers have a list of all the voters in the precinct, and there would be a designation that you voted absentee in there. So the poll workers aren't going to give you a ballot if you've returned an absentee ballot, or even if you hadn't returned it, they're still going to have that designation that you requested an absentee ballot. So you're going to get caught. So really, don't do it unless you want to spend time behind bars. I don't know what else to say.
Now, I might look a little silly today. I'm wearing these headphones. They're doing work on my house, and I didn't want to have you guys hearing the background noise. Plus, I wanted to be able to make sure I could hear you today, Lisa.
Yeah,
But
it's
when it
sorry
comes,
that my phone was just ringing here, so I
okay.
apologize for that.
But when it comes to
Work happened.
technology, is there things that you can or can't take into the voting booth with you if you're actually voting in person? Can you take a phone? Can you wear headphones? What types of technology issues are there when it may come to voting in person?
Well, you know, it has changed over the years. If you think about bringing a phone in, so you can't be on the phone, right? Because we don't want to interrupt other people voting, but you shouldn't be talking about the election. Remember that you cannot wear anything. So it's not just technology. It might be you have a sticker or a button or a T-shirt or a hat that has a campaign slogan or a candidate's name on it. That is not allowed. There's no campaigning, remember, inside the precinct. So, you know, the rules have changed with whether you or not you can take a picture of your ballot. So you can bring a phone, don't be on the phone. Headphones, well, so we have, we call it that, the voter assist terminal, which is the ADA compliant voting equipment. And so someone who perhaps is visually impaired maybe using headphones to listen to audibly to listen to the choices that they can vote for on that equipment. So yeah, headphones would be fine.
All right. And talking about people with disabilities, if someone may have an issue with feeling they need assistance with getting their ballot at home, going through something like that, what should they do?
So again, well, I know the Secretary of State has created a separate program for people with disabilities who want to work from home. So they should look into that. But you know, it's your local clerk, city or township clerk that issues your ballot. I know people have sent me requests for absentee ballots. I'm just forwarding them on to your local clerk. So
Right.
they, you know, they don't come to me. They go to your local clerk. They're the ones who process the request, and they're the ones who issue your ballot.
Okay. And is there anything you want the viewers to know that we might not have covered so far in our talk?
Well, not exactly election related, but I want to make sure that people know that I opened a satellite office at the South Oakland office building on Crooks, just south of 15. You know, as we're in the middle of a pandemic, and well, I don't know if we're in the middle, but we are in a pandemic, and you know, we're taking people by appointment. But I know how important the services of my office are. And actually the satellite office is something I've been working on for years. And I'm happy to have that going now. So it's another place that people can go and make an appointment. It's the same phone number you would call. But it's more convenient, like for you, you know, to be able to go there and conduct business with my office as well. But again, in relation to the election, again, I guess I will say this. I couldn't remember. So you had an opportunity to request an absentee ballot in March, on the March application, and also on the August application. For an absentee ballot. And personally, I couldn't remember if I had requested it for November or not. And so I went onto the Secretary of State's website.
All right. Well, thank you for this information. We want to make sure everyone takes advantage of their right to vote. Get out there and either by absentee ballot or on November 3rd, make your voice heard.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Tim.